On behalf of Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan, I'm happy to welcome you all today to this webinar on the new reassessment provisions, an end to litigative past. The panel today will be led by Mr. Raghavan Ramapathy, Executive Partner, LNS. Mr. Raghavan is a chartered accountant turned lawyer, currently heading the direct tax and indirect practices at Chennai of the law firm Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan. He also handles corporate litigation matters before High Court. Raghavan sir has worked extensively in both advisory and litigation verticals of the firm during the past 17 years. He has also been awarded by adjudged as Indirect Tax Leader for Asia region in 2017 and as a Rising Star of the Year Under 40 by Legal Era in 2020. Today, Raghavan sir will be assisted by Ms. Bharti, Principal Associate, LMS. Participants are requested to write their questions in the Q&A box and not in the chat box during the session. We will try to take them one by one. If time permits, there will also be a Q&A session after the presentation concludes. Thank you. Over to you, Raghavan sir.
A very good evening to all of you. Thanks for taking some time out for us. Session. The assessment scheme has been brought in. There are indeed a lot of interesting developments in this area, namely the reassessment provisions. So we thought it would be ideal for us to have a discussion on this topic at this stage. I'm joined today with my other colleagues, Ms. Bharti Krishna Prasad, who is heading the Income Tax Division in the Chennai branch of Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan. And also along with her, we have Janani and Abhinav, both part of the direct tax team in the Chennai office of Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan. So they are the experts. I'm here more to moderate this session because they have spent a lot of time on this. The session as such is designed in such a fashion that it's going to be a lot of interactions among the panelists, because we have also developed a few case studies, because we thought the way the new section has been worded, there is scope for a lot of confusions on how it will operate. We also have seen that there are some issues which are going to be extremely difficult to be resolved through discussions. We may expect some litigation in the future. So I'm sure the kind of litigation which we have been facing all these years on the scope of reassessment under Section 148, etc., those will come to an end. We may not have the same amount of litigations in future, but I think we are going to have new types of litigations coming up in this arena. So with this, I would directly, considering that we have only an hour's time to discuss on this complicated provisions, I would directly take a plunge into the topic as such. We have a PowerPoint presentation to be presented before you. I would share my screen and I hope it will be visible to all of you. So the question which we are asking today is whether the new reassessment provisions, is it putting an end to the litigative past under this provision? So let us see what this session beholds for all of us and how we are going to conclude on this. The agenda, the overview of today's session is going to be, we are going to have a very shallow dip into what the old provision says, and we are going to have a deep dive into what the new provision says. We are going to discuss on a few case studies to understand the new provisions better. We also are going to understand the provisions relating to taxation and other laws amendment where there is an extension of time limit, etc., and what impact it is going to have on the pending assessments or now reassessments that are going to be carried out going forward. And if such notices are issued, what should be our way forward, what all we should do to protect our money. So this is how we thought we would design today's session. So with this, I will move on to the topic as such, the scheme of reassessment. Whenever we talk about reassessment, we know there are two important phrases. One is a reason to believe, other is income as escaped assessment. Under the old law, under 148, it said that the assessing officer should have reason to believe that the income chargeable tax has escaped assessment. So, what is meant by reason to believe? What is meant by escaped assessment? It has been much debated. We all know that this litigation has started for a long time, more than a century old. Even starting with the Income Tax Act, which was shared between India and England, starting from 1886. Then what amendments have been brought out, then 1982 Act. So a lot of discussions on this, and post independence also this has been a matter of dispute. And then we had, of course, the amendment of 1987, which was made into effect from 1989. The whole dispute was there as to whether the word reason to believe, when it is not incorporated in the provision, what impact does it have? When it is incorporated in the provision, what it has? So we got the Supreme Court decision in the case of Kelvinator. Kelvinator ultimately held that the phrase reason to believe is a very important phrase, and the reason to believe has built into it the concept that a reassessment cannot be done on a mere change of opinion. This was also held in Kelvinator, which had considered the provision which we have all been discussing till 31st March 2021. Kelvinator also held that the assessing officer's power is restricted to reassessment and it is not review. So he cannot change his opinions every now and then. And also a successor officer to his office cannot also take a different view. If two views are possible, the view one which was taken already, they have to stick onto it. So mere change of opinion cannot be a reason for reassessment. This was the law which was there till 31st March 2021. And the law also provided for procedure for communication of reasons. But the procedure for communication of reasons for reopening assessment was not provided in the law, but the Honorable Supreme Court, in the case of GK and Drive Shaft, which we all know, that said that when the law says there is reason to believe and some reasons are there, it is not an arbitrary mechanism. So therefore, if there is a reason to believe, then it has to be communicated, and it also prescribes the procedures. Like the RC has to file return of income in response to a notice. The RC can seek the reasons recorded for reopening the assessment. Those reasons should be shared with the RCs. The RCs are entitled to file a detailed reply with respect to those reasons. He has to be heard. And first, an order has to be passed only on the reasons for reopening, and only after that, the actual reassessment can be taken. So these procedures were devised by the Honorable Supreme Court in GK and Drive Shaft. This has been followed also subsequently in very many cases, and that has been the procedure which we all have been following. Not a law which is codified by the statute itself, but it's a common law which has now been being followed by all of us through the decision of the Supreme Court in GK and Drive Shaft. So the phrase income escaped assessment, that is also there. Income assessment is as a natural meaning, and it also has had deeming provisions under the old law in what all instances an income can be called to have escaped assessment. All these things were there. Procedure and limitation was there. Reasons to be recorded before issuance of notice. Reassessment could have been made under the old law within 4 years from the end of the relevant assessment. So when we are talking about 4 years, the trigger point will start from the end of the assessment year, the relevant assessment year for the income is assessed. So 4 years from the end of relevant assessment in normal cases, but wherever there is non-disclosure of income, etc., in those cases, it will go up to 6 years, and wherever the asset is situated outside the country, etc., in all those cases, it could even go up to 16 years. This was the limitation. These were all there enshrined under the old law, not under the new law. Now, what does the new law say? We will start with section 147. There are a few amendments to give a bird's eye view of this. Section 147 has been revamped. Section 148 has been revamped. Then a new section 148 subsection 148 capital A has been brought in, and 149 has also been amended. In fact, Certain amendments have also been carried out accordingly in section 153A, 153C, etc. to basically make 147, 148 proceedings to be applicable in future for all search and other assessment cases as well. So going forward in the future assessment years, we may not have 153A or 153C assessments. We will all will be covered under 148. But for the past, still 153A and C can continue. So that is how a lot of amendments have been made. So we will take up one by one each of them. What does 147 say? 147, of course, like the earlier provision, it deals with income escaping assessment. The AO can assess or reassess an income, or he can recompute loss or depreciation allowance or any other allowance or deduction. Now, this says assess, reassess, recompute. Three words are used. AO can assess or reassess income in case of any other issue which he has done the assessment. If it comes to his notice subsequently. So this is also very similar to what we had earlier. That is, if an assessment is reopened properly, and during the course of doing the reassessment, if the assessing officer comes into contact with more information or some other income which has come to his knowledge, for which the reassessment was not initiated, but during the reassessment process, he can add all those incomes also and he can complete the reassessment. So therefore, reassessment should start with one income, but when it is completed, it can have more than one income. Similar provision was there under the old law and it continues to be there in the new one also. It is contained in section 147, which says AO can assess or reassess income in case of any other issue or any other income which has escaped assessment if it comes to his notice subsequently, not at the time of initiation, but subsequently in the course of proceedings under this section. Here, I am slightly jumping the gun. Just take note of this. Section 148A compliance is not required with respect to those additional incomes which are discovered. What is 148, etc., we can see later, but just keep that in mind. Only for initiating 148A will apply. After proper initiation of reassessment, if during the course of reassessment more income is found out, etc., for all those things, the procedure under section 148A will not apply. So that is with respect to section 147. Now we will talk about section 148. Under section 148, notice has to be issued. This is the notice. When we talk about 148, that is the section where we talk about reassessment. This is the notice for reassessment. When can this notice be issued? Where the assessing officer has information which suggests that income chargeable to taxes is escape assessment. Did you notice here? Please see this. When can a notice be issued? When the AO has information which suggests that income chargeable taxes is escape assessment. That is all. It is not talking about where the assessing officer has a reason to believe income chargeable to taxes is escape assessment. Under the old law, up to 31/3/2021, it would use the phrase reason to believe that income chargeable taxes escape assessment. Now the phrase reason to believe is not there. This only says he has information which suggests that income chargeable to taxes escape assessment. Then if he has obtained the prior approval of specified authority, that is enough, he can issue notice. But this huge phrase, income which suggests that, information which suggests that income chargeable to taxes escape assessment, how do you decide he has that information? What is the meaning of this? That has been explained further in the section. That says AO is deemed to have information which suggests that income chargeable to taxes escape assessment for 3 assessment years immediately preceding the relevant assessment year if search is initiated or survey conducted in the case of assessing, or AO is satisfied with prior approval of principal commissioner that anything. So what all these things say is AO should have information which suggests income chargeable taxes escape assessment. Number 1, that's a prerequisite. Number 2, even if he is deemed to have it for 3 continuous assessment years in the past, he is deemed to have that for 3 assessment years in the past, in case where there was a search initiated in respect of an SC for in during any assessment year, or if the AO is satisfied that some money or bullion or any other asset or seized or requisitioned in case of any other person, but that belongs to the assessee, or books of accounts or documents or anything is also requisitioned in case of any other person, but it actually pertains to assessee. So these are exceptions. In these three situations, through search, through all these things, even if some information is received, then it is deemed that the assessing officer has information for 3 successive assessment years prior to the date on which this search was initiated. So that means we can go up to 3 years for initiating the reassessment proceedings. Having said that, what is meant by information which the AO has to suggest that income tax has escaped assessment? There are 2 situations which are contemplated under this. First situation is the information, there is some information which is flagged by the risk management strategy formulated by the board. So therefore, there is going to be something called RMS, risk management strategy. It is going to be formulated by the board. Once the board formulates it, then that system will flag information with respect to particular SC for relevant assessment. Once that is flagged, then that means that AO has information about you. Therefore, he can do income escaping assessment. So therefore, it all going to depend on what does the risk management strategy system, which is formulated by the board, is going to flag. Once your information is flagged in that, then that means that SC can be reassessed by the assessing officer. What is very important is, if that is flagged for assessment year 2025-26, then you cannot be reassessed for assessment year 2026-27. That flagging should happen for that assessment year, and it should happen for that assessee, not for a different assessee. Your sister concern is flagged, your subsidiary company is flagged. That is not sufficient. It should be flagged in your case, and it should be flagged for that assessment year. Once that is done, then for that assessment year for which the flagging has happened, there can be reassessment which can be initiated by the assessing officer. This is one situation. The other situation is, we all know the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. They do the audit, etc., and they come up with a final report. If the Comptroller and Auditor General of India comes up with a final objection, final report, based on, after reviewing all the assessments made by the income tax department, if they come to the conclusion that a certain assessment made in the case of a certain SC for a certain assessment year, if the CAG has flagged saying that it is not done in accordance with the provisions of the Income Tax Act. So therefore, basically they say that the assessment is not in line with the law. I don't want to use the word illegal, but it's not as per the law. In that situation, if the CAG report contains or talks about a particular assessment for a particular assessee, then for that assessee, for that assessment year, this will be deemed that the AO has the information which suggests that income capital tax has escaped assessment. So therefore, this 2 situations we are talking about, one is under the risk management strategy, it is flagged, or number 2, CAG has given a final report regarding a particular assessment saying that it is not in line with the provisions of law. In these 2 situations, the AO can reopen the assessment. In fact, before coming to this, one interesting question which came up was, if you see the second bullet, final objection raised with the CAG, that the assessment is not made in accordance with the Income Tax Act. When it says assessment is not made in accordance with Income Tax Act, let us say 143(3) order is passed. Regular assessment has happened. If regular assessment has happened, then CAG can come to a conclusion that the assessment which is done is not in accordance with the provisions of the Act. There is no difficulty because 143(3) order is passed. But take a situation where no regular assessment was conducted. your intimation was, your return was filed, and you have been served with an intimation by CTC saying that your income tax return is processed under 141. There is no order as such passed. Now, can the CAG report deal with such thing? But we are not concerned with that question specifically. Assuming that CAG gets into that also and say the processing is wrong, let us say. But will that satisfy the provisions of this particular section? That is, final objection raised by the CAG that the assessment is not made in accordance with the Act. When there is no assessment at all, can you say that the assessment is not made in accordance with the income tax act? This question comes. You can see in the bracket the word made, that is not there in the act. We have added it, and that's why we have highlighted it in such a fashion. Whether a situation of assessment is not made in accordance with the act will include an assessment not made at all. According to us, assessment not made is different from assessment not made in accordance with it. When the law says assessment not made in accordance with provision, it presupposes that some assessment was made. So there was an assessment, but that is not under the as per the provisions of the Act. So therefore, in a situation where no assessment has been carried out, to our mind, of course, this can lead to litigation. Some judgment may come, but according to us, the correct position ought to be that when no assessment is made, that cannot be called as assessment made in accordance with the Act. The word made, we feel, has to be read there to understand it better.